Now, I know the title of this film is called 65 because it's set 65 million years in the past. But what if I told you it's really called 65 because that's the number of minutes that there's no stinking dinosaurs in this thing? God. Alright, so 65 is a film about a space traveler who is transporting some people across the galaxy and ends up crash landing on what we know as Earth, but 65 million years in the past, which means there's dinosaurs afoot. And so it's up to him and is protecting the lone survivor, which is a little girl, in order to escape the planet and survive a bunch of dinosaurs. And I was super duper excited about this film because, in pop culture right now, we're getting quite a few things, with an older protagonist taking care of a younger protagonist, and they kind of form a parent-child bond. Look at The Mandalorian. We got The Last of Us right now, which has been great. So this one, I was like, okay, here we go with this kind of similar premise, and it is a very simple premise. It's almost so simple that how could you screw this up? You got future technology and dinosaurs, and you have to survive them. It sounds like a Jurassic Park movie we all wish we had. And to be honest with you, and like I said in the beginning, there's not as many dinosaurs in this as you would hope. Like, sure, you get a few scenes where he's got to fight off dinosaurs, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, it all boils down to this story is hollow as heck. Like, he's got a motivation. Adam Driver's character, who is Mills, the pilot in this, he's got a motivation, he's got a reason for why he's doing this job, which is to make money. Gee, even in a galaxy far, far away where this character comes from, they're still having to deal with bills, and that's how he's paying them. So his motivation is there, but it just doesn't quite get to the point where it gets us invested. And then on top of that, having to save and protect this little girl who he can't really understand, and in the film, there's a language barrier there, which makes that an interesting dynamic, but it doesn't really amount to much. Like, they have a few squabbles, and they are still trying to get from point A to point B, and it's just everything in between should have been a little more interesting. There were times where I was having to fight to stay awake because nothing was happening. They didn't take advantage of the premise they had. And now, then again, the way this film is marketed is definitely not quite the way this movie is, which happens all the time. They market it one way to try to get the crowd in, but the film's completely different, which is totally fine. And I actually see the approach they were going for with this actual movie, a little bit more of a intimate character study about this guy who's dealing with a lot, being on this planet that he's not from and longing for his home and some circumstances back there. So there's some stuff that's interesting. They just don't get a lot out of it, and it suffers. The film suffers because of it. It's not a poorly made movie. It is not the worst movie you're going to see this year, but it definitely squanders so much potential, especially in the actors. Adam Driver is one of the best actors in the business today, and even he couldn't save a very shoddy script. I feel like this script, when he read it, had to have had a little more potential. So they must have fumbled it somewhere along the way, or maybe they didn't exactly do what they wanted to do when they initially set out to make this film and get him attached. Who knows? It could be a bunch of different stuff. And the fact that they also didn't have the confidence in this film, they lifted the review embargo the day of the film, and it's not great on Rotten Tomatoes right now, which you shouldn't always... Come on, we've been through this before. Don't always go by the Rotten Tomatoes here, but judge it for yourself. And for me, it just doesn't work as well as it should have. That premise was gold. And they just didn't really get there, and it bums me up because I was looking so forward to this film. Like I said, the dinosaurs are barely in it. Like they're there, and like I always like to say, like the Jaws shark, kind of weaving in and out of the story. There's a dinosaur that pops in for a minute and then comes back at the end, and that's it. And I just don't feel like there was enough peril for them to go through. It was stuff that was like, you're a dude who's got all this future technology. Why aren't we using it? Not lay waste to these dinosaurs, but why aren't we using this more effectively? And he's got so many cool tools. I would have liked to see some more of that developed. Shoot, I would have even have loved to have seen more of his backstory and more of, what exactly his job is. Like, just delve into that a little more. Make him more interesting. He was such a one or two note character that I couldn't get fully invested in the story they were trying to tell, because I think it actually could have been a very interesting, and you could have connected a lot easier with him had they taken some stuff in a few different ways, or got the audience more invested in his backstory. Because you get it at the very beginning. You know, the first 5-6 minutes are spent laying that groundwork, and then it's, I don't know, then the rest of it is kind of like, it just occasionally pops back in, but you don't feel the emotional weight. That's my big problem with it. Very let down by this. The lack of dinosaurs didn't help. I mean, because this could have been a very simple, get from point A to point B movie, have some great dinosaur spectacle, and get to the end of the film. And while it technically kind of does that, it just does it in such a way that you're just like, I could have seen this in umpteen other types of movies that kind of have that same premise, and you squandered Future Man versus dinosaurs. You squandered it. So there's that. I'm really bummed out, because this was on my top 10 list of anticipated films this year, and I don't want to call it a dud, but it definitely didn't live anywhere near the hype that I wanted it to. So there it is, guys. I'm going to end up giving this a C-. I think, there's a lot of good aspects to it, but nothing really can save this film from what it is. And to be honest with you, you'd probably be good skipping this in the theater. I mean, it is a brisk hour and a half long. I mean, I'll give it that. The runtime is short and sweet. You get in, you get out. But I just feel like it just drags, and it's not as interesting as it could have been. So this might be one worth skipping, in my opinion. So what do you guys think? Did you guys go see 65? Do you want to still see 65? What's your favorite dinosaur movie? That's a good question right there. Leave all those down in the comments below. And if you could also please hit that like button, subscribe button, the little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new videos. It'd be greatly appreciated. One more film this weekend. I'm going to one more on Saturday. So tomorrow, got one last film this weekend. Hopefully we get out of this weekend with at least one shining review. We'll see. Film's subjective. It hits us in different ways. So we'll see how that goes. And until that review, guys, I'll be seeing you.